Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Press Play Streaming Studios. My name is Alan. We're here with Movie Chat tonight. I'm really excited tonight. We are going to be covering Black Widow. This movie has a little bit of controversy behind it. There's some people that are really disparaging it, but I tell you what, for those of you out there who have any doubt, this movie doubled, let me say that again, doubled its budget plus in less than a week. And do I like it? Hell yeah. Does it have problems? Hell yeah. But that's okay. So tonight, I unfortunately, Stefan, who's my normal co-host, is not with us tonight. Stefan did have some family matters that he needed to take care of, and as we all know, family does come first. But I am very, very excited to have a very special guest with us tonight. She's been on with us before and always does a great job. So let's bring her on board. Chantal, how are you doing tonight, Chantal?
I am doing well. Like I told you earlier, I have a little bit of a headache, but I'm a constant professional. So here I am.
I'm just gonna smile and go, okay. Okay. Anyway, so before we get into it, do you mind if I do just like a real quick synopsis of the movie?
Absolutely, go for it.
Oh, all right. So Black Widow. It's not the classic Alice Cooper song featuring Vincent Price, but it is the 2021 movie starring Scarlett Johansson. ScarJo, as we know by now, is a Russian-trained spy and a member of the Avengers. She is non-powered, we know that as well, but somehow she's able to survive things that would kill her and any other normal human being on the planet. She goes on an adventure this time to stop the Black Widow program and the Red Room. She teams up with her non-family, and she has to sever a nerve in her smeller in order to save the world as we know it. Does that sound about right to you, Chantal?
Yeah, you have a really interesting way of summing up movies, but I like it.
Well, I call that I'm channeling my inner Jude.
I like it.
And if she happens to see this, thank you, Jude, for giving me the inspiration. I love you and I appreciate you very much. All right. So just so everyone's aware, we are talking about the movie that was just released. What was it, last week or the week?
2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago. So that being said, there are going to be spoilers. We are not a spoiler-free stream. We absolutely, positively talk about everything we can. So if you haven't seen the movie, here's your chance. Go.
You've been warned.
All right, so you're back now and you've seen the movie, so we're ready to go in spoiler territory. Let's have some fun tonight. Chantal, what did you think about Black Widow?
I absolutely loved it, considering that I actually was not, I was indifferent towards it because I was definitely one of those that felt we should have had an origin story for her of some kind, a standalone story, movie for her a while back. But I also believe that things happen for a reason and movies come out during a certain time for a certain reason. And I'm glad that I went in with somewhat not low expectations, but just no expectations at all, because I ended up loving it so much that I actually plan on going to the theater to watch it again.
Really?
Yes, I enjoyed it that much.
Well, I will tell you that I too went into it with very little expectations. I knew the character was going to be fantastic. I knew that I was going to love her because I always have in this character. I think ScarJo does a great job as the Black Widow. You know, and when she's able to stand toe to toe with these other Avengers, you know, being a non-powered individual and some of the threats that they've had to face, I think that's her character is just fantastic in that aspect. But so I knew kind of what I was going to get going in. So I didn't really have any, you know, ups or downs or what have you. I do understand where some of the criticism is coming from. But that being said, man, this movie was a ride. It was so fun. I mean, from the
Action packed.
action packed, almost to a fault. It was so action packed, it was almost to a fault. It's like, holy crap, what are they going to do next? But yeah, we'll get into some of the stuff that I thought was really great, and some of the stuff you thought I'm sure was great. But I'm also going to be honest with you and tell you some of the stuff that I could have done without, if that's okay as well.
Yeah, sure.
Because we want to, we will, that's one thing that we pride ourselves here on at Press Play is just, we tell you how we feel, whether like it or don't like it. That's okay. Just one big happy family here, sitting around the bar, having a drink or two, and having a good time. So that being said, Chantal, tell me, what did you think about Ohio?
I thought that was I really enjoyed that opening. Actually, I thought that was very interesting, and it was nice, kind of seeing that dynamic and seeing how she was, part of a family, quote unquote, for a while there, and it was also very heartbreaking, especially once they got towards the end, and they knew that they were coming after them, and just seeing them separated. And that I hated that part, especially because I myself have a sister, and I think that's also why I enjoyed this movie so much, because I have a younger sister. So I always appreciate movies and stories that focus on the sisterly bond, and even some of the sparring that happens between the two of them, because
it's
obviously,
true to world, yeah.
Of course, I mean that definitely happens. Yeah. But no, I really did love that whole scene, and I especially loved David Harbour, and it was just, I don't know, that was a hell of a way to open up the movie.
It was. Now the little girl that played Black Widow or Natasha as a child. Do you know who she is?
No, I don't. Go ahead and drop some knowledge on me.
All right. So you've seen the movie Resident Evil, right?
No, actually, I never got into the Resident Evil. I'm not big on movies based on video games, to tell you the truth.
I can understand that, but being a fan of horror, I thought maybe you might have checked that out. So the lead actress, and I can't pronounce her name, so I'm not going to try because I would slaughter it. The lead actress in Resident Evil, which anyone who watches the stream at any point in time will know exactly what I'm talking about. That's her mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, how funny.
So she comes from an action background, if you want to say that. That's a way.
Yeah, well, it showed. It definitely showed.
It really.
What a badass of a child.
No doubt. And I'm with you. David Harbour was fantastic as the non-father, right? Because really, at the very beginning, we don't know that it's a fictitious family until about 10 minutes or so in.
You see, I was the opposite, because I watched the show The Americans on FX.
Yeah.
And it totally reminded me of that. And I kind of figured right off the bat, like, that's little Natasha. And I already had a feeling like, unfortunately, and it's so funny because we just had a show on this in the other pocket. I do try and turn my brain off when I'm watching movies, because I don't like
certain things, right?
I don't like to guess, but certain things to me are just very obvious. And I was able to tell right off the bat. I was like, okay, I could tell that that's her. And obviously I know that, she's, Russian born. So I was like, okay, so this is interesting. So they actually were here in America undercover. So that's why I thought it was so fascinating. It totally reminded me of The Americans.
I agree. And then the quick escape from SHIELD on the airplane was amazing.
That was awesome. What an opening.
It was so well done. So here's the thing that's really cool that I think Marvel did a fantastic job on. This was the setup, right? So you have the family dynamic.
Right.
You have the younger sister who is Yelena.
Yelena, yeah.
Okay, Yelena. I didn't know if I pronounced it correctly. And her relationship, you can tell that they have really bonded, Absolutely. and then Dad comes in, he announces, hey, you knew this day was coming. Today's the day. And they run, they get on the plane,
Do you think Yelena necessarily understood that, or was it only Natasha? I definitely could tell that little Natasha understood, like,
yes,
this is really who we are. and eventually this is going to happen. But since Yelena was so young and only 6 years old, I kind of wondered, does she really grasp like what's going on?
I think her and Natasha both. Only with her it was magnified. They both knew,
Hmm.
but they didn't want to know. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
They
No, I can get
really,
that.
really wanted it to be, hey, let's just stay. And look who just joined
Hey,
us.
Frank.
Hey, Frank, how are
What's
you,
up,
sir?
buddy?
I want to tell you something, Frank, just real quick. I was going over our memes that we were tweeting back and forth with each other last night with my wife, and we were both laughing until I almost had tears. The little boy going, I'm not jealous. I was like, oh my God, that is the greatest thing I think I've ever seen. So
He's like the
welcome,
gift
Frank.
king.
He's great. He's great. You and my wife get along well. She's very good. But the problem is her generally get nasty. So, but that's
Oh,
okay.
then I will definitely get along with your wife too. Then.
I get along with her very well because that's one of the many reasons. So it's good to see you, Frank. Glad you're joining us. So anyway, where were we? Oh, okay. So they finally, they fly their single engine Cessna to Cuba from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
There must have been some tailwind going. That's all I got to say. Either that or they turn the engine off and they it's a movie, right?
It's a movie. You got to suspend your disbelief like an iota.
Iota. Or they stopped at Florida for a quick fill. Who knows?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Everything happens in Florida. So,
so you can get in and out of Florida and no one will know it. Anyway, but then the next scene. The next scene when they're when the military moves in and you see child Natasha steal the gun to protect her sister.
That was awesome.
It was so well done and it was believable. So you didn't really have to suspend your
No, I totally believed it.
As a child, how she moved, how she reacted, and how she got the gun. Literally, I looked at it and went, yeah, I could see it happening. I mean, I think it was very well choreographed.
And again, me being the older sibling of the two, I was like, oh, hell yeah. Yeah, you bet your ass that is something that I would do for my sister. So, yeah, I was totally in it from the very, very beginning.
I again, I agree. I think it's I think it was a fantastic little nod there, and the way she moved, it was just very good. Oh, looky here, Mr. Josh Irwin, the actress who played young Yelena, was great in Haunting of Hill House. That was her. Oh my God! Right. Lights just went on. Thank you, Josh. Oh,
yes. I totally forgot. I mean, I knew it was her when I was watching the movie because I recognized her right away. But yes, because it's already been 2 weeks, I need to go back and rewatch. Yes, and by the way, a fantastic show. I think I've watched The Haunting of Hill House like 4 or 5 times already. I would
watch that good right now. And
that is so good. Thanks for bringing that up, Josh. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. We got so hung up on the older sister.
It was great.
Yeah.
So I will say this though, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm just going to jump ahead just a hair.
Sure.
Florence Pugh made this movie for me.
Oh, and then also from what I read, it looks like, believe it or not, considering it is called Black Widow, and obviously, yes, there's a lot of attention being paid to Natasha. Everything that I read was this really was more of a vehicle for Yelena, and so I can understand why I did feel like there was a little bit more focus on her, and she was fantastic. Florence Pugh, and I already like her. She's a great actress.
Great. And here's the thing that I love about it is, you said, it was Black Widow. So Natasha, that's because we're trained to think Natasha, Black Widow.
But really, you could say it's about all of the Black Widows.
All of the Black Widow. Exactly.
It's about the organization itself, not so much the one character.
Yes. So anywho, at this point in time, we do a little jump forward in time in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to talk about what comes next?
Oh man, you're gonna have to refresh my memory because unfortunately I watched so much stuff that after only watching it once, I knew I should have watched it one more time before I actually came on the show. And
So so
I didn't want to pay the $30 on Disney Plus to watch it again.
you
I'd
know
rather go to the movie theater.
so here's the funny part about that. Me and a buddy of mine were talking about the whole $30 at Disney thing.
Hmm.
I said, well, think about it. You and your girlfriend, or me and my wife, or whatever the case may be, you go to the movie, you buy one thing from concession stand, and you're already over $30 easily.
Oh yeah, no, and definitely like if you have a family, it makes sense because if you think about a family of four and you split up that $30 per each family member, I mean, that's actually still less than an actual movie ticket.
Yes.
But I guess for me as a single person, it's a little difficult for me to drop that $30 on one movie. And because I'm so big on supporting movie theaters, I actually have no problem giving them my money. Like when I went to go see Black Widow, I
Hmm.
had like a buffet of food, like an amount of food that I normally would not buy when I would go to the movies, but I just so greatly wanted to
And
support the movie theaters.
there was no ice cream in that.
No, no ice cream. No. 2 boxes of crunch, an icy, a cherry icy, and popcorn, which I actually rarely buy popcorn at the movie theater, believe it or
I
not.
I will tell you this. I don't care for popcorn.
I like popcorn, but not at the movie theater for some reason.
No,
I don't know why. It's
no.
weird to explain.
I was one of those guys that remember when they used to sell the big bags of peanut M&Ms.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
used to buy the big bag of peanut M&Ms, and they'd be gone before the trailers were done, and I'd have to go buy some more. Oh, oh, it's so bad. I'm
You were
so
bad.
I'm so addicted to them. Anyway, so we're going to move forward just a little bit, and we've
Okay.
got uh, ScarJo basically in hiding.
Right, right. This is
Right.
when she's already run off after
Yeah.
Civil War, correct? Yeah.
Right. Correct. So she's in hiding. She's in her trailer on the mountainside,
Yeah.
and I'm painfully jealous because she's so far off grid.
I know.
We get to meet another character named Mason.
Yeah.
Mason is her provider, if you will,
Hmm.
uh, because every spy needs someone who can get stuff.
It's coming back to me now. Yes.
Right.
Yes. And I liked the dynamic between the two of them too.
I did too, and I love the fact that the generator died within hours. And I was like, there's going to be something about this in the future, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But so they established that it's only 20 minutes to town, but she's far enough out that she's basically completely off grid. Everything has to be run through generator and cellular. There is no electricity. There's no necessarily running water, that type of thing.
Mhm.
And then the first thing happens in the movie that made me want to absolutely pull my hair out.
Okay, this is what I was waiting for. I want to hear what what your
Uh,
issues were.
okay, so as we know, she's an Avenger, and as we know,
Correct.
she's not super powered, and yet
Right.
she can take a rocket in the side of the vehicle, then tumble the vehicle about 12 times and get out without so much as a scratch.
Yeah, when it comes to some of these big scale disasters that happen in these movies, and one comes to mind, which is actually in Civil War, when Wanda's trying to hold up as much as she can while Cap and whatever they're trying to run through the hangar, and Natasha lets them go, and somehow all that stuff falls down, and they're able to just squeeze out from underneath the rubble, like right before it
Yeah.
collapses. And I'm kind of like, all right, I can only suspend my disbelief for so
But
much.
here's the thing, though. They are super powered.
Right.
Natasha's not.
No, not in any
And
way,
she's
shape,
not
or
wearing
form.
any armor or padding.
Mm-mm.
So this was the one spot where I kind of went, okay, it's a comic book movie, Alan, let it go. And I did. I
Yeah.
immediately let it go. But then we get to meet our I'm going to call them the sub boss, right? If they were
Okay.
playing a video game, it's not the full boss, it's the sub boss.
Mhm.
We get to meet Taskmaster.
Yes.
I'm really curious what Frank thought of the Taskmaster.
I know there was some disappointment before the movie even came out, just with the costume alone. And again, I do not pretend to be an expert on comic books. I wasn't, raised reading them or anything like that. So of course, when I heard that this was the sub boss, apparently, like the secondary villain essentially in the movie, I did read up on Taskmaster and stuff like that. But for me, for somebody who didn't grow up with the comic books, didn't read up on anything, didn't know anything about the character, I personally didn't have a problem with the character. I just want to know, are they going to feature the character again in some way, shape, or form, or is that it? Are we done?
I believe that the Taskmaster will become part of the. Um,
And will it be somebody else? Because everything that I read, Taskmaster was actually male, and then they went this route, which I understood why.
yeah,
And I don't have a
and I
problem. And I
got it.
really don't give a crap what the gender is, honestly.
No, and to be honest with you, I kind of got it because of the whole um, the setup on why. So it made sense to me. I wasn't mad
Yeah,
about
me
the gender
neither.
switch at all.
Don't even care about that.
I kind of wish they would have stayed true to the power set a little bit more. So
Okay.
instead of downloading it through the inner spine, it was more of an actual power because
Gotcha.
Taskmaster's power is he's a perfect mimic.
Right. Exactly.
So when Yolanda said, fighting him's like fighting a mirror,
Mm-hmm.
right? He doesn't have to study. He doesn't have to watch film. He just
Right.
sees. He
And
knows
he
how to
does.
react.
Right.
So he knows the perfect counter for whatever move you're doing. Um, that would have been kind of cool if, for some reason, the chemical that they were using to do the blackmail, or not blackmail, I'm sorry, but the brainwashing
Yes.
had maybe somehow triggered that latent mutant power or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
right? That latent power would have been kind of what I think would have been a cooler way to do it. But I get it. I get why.
Yeah, in the
Um,
context of this film, I understood, of this movie, I understood why it was
mhm.
done that way.
So you said you hope to see her later. I think she'll be part of the Thunderbirds, and we'll get close.
Okay.
We'll get into that a little bit more towards the end.
Okay.
So this fight scene was actually dope.
I loved it. I loved
I
every fight scene, honestly.
I loved it. Now, the only thing that would have made the fight scene in this one, and especially the one that comes next, better, would have been less cuts and more single shot.
I can see that. I
Because
can understand that.
I think it would have made it more engaging. But
Yeah.
man, you knew Natasha was in for the way that Taskmaster handled her. You knew, right?
And I really got to give it to Scarlett Johansson, having done so many of these movies already.
Yeah, I agree.
Something against him.
I love you, Josh.
Oh,
But he's
I
right.
gotta really give it to her. I mean, that was one thing that kept running through my mind is, my God, this woman is absolutely amazing. I mean, the physicality of everything that she is doing. I mean,
How much of
I
it?
know she has no powers, but sometimes she's actually the one that impresses me the most.
Because she has no powers.
And I think that's what it is. She has
Yeah.
so much more to prove. And of course, also being a woman and not having powers, that's another thing also. So I've loved her really from the very
I
beginning.
love the her hallway scene
Yeah.
is almost as good as Darth Vader's. Almost, but not quite.
Let's watch it there.
Yeah, it's nowhere near Luke's hallway scene.
Yeah.
But no, what I mean by that is the first time you saw that in Iron Man 2, when you saw that hallway scene,
Hmm.
man, you're like, holy crap, she's kicking. I mean, that's when you went, I like her. I like
Definitely.
her. She needs her. And as far back as then, Stefan and I were literally going, she needs a movie. I would pay to see that tomorrow. She needs a movie.
It's true. I think I really did want a standalone movie from her. Literally, like, yeah, I would say from the very, very beginning. And I was already a Scarlett Johansson fan to begin with. So
Yes.
even more so, I was like, when are we going to get one? So
When she was in the boxing ring, when we very first meet her, right? She's in the boxing ring and she just lays him out. I'm like, going, I like
Hell
her.
yeah.
Well,
Hell
okay,
yeah.
so here was my reaction because one, it's ScarJo, two,
Mhm.
it's the character, and three, I have a thing for redheads. Hi, honey, I love you. I go, I went. Oh, I mean, her. I want to meet her. I just want to say hi. I just want to stand close to her. That's it. I don't want to be freaky or anything. But yeah, I
She's
mean, that's
gorgeous. I love
oh,
her so much. I
oh yeah.
really do.
Oh yeah. So okay, so then she finds the vials, right?
Mhm.
Florence Pugh had left with her. I love the fact that they called back the little um, photo booth picture
Yes.
that she
Yes, yes,
ripped
yes.
apart.
Mhm.
And it was funny. I was talking with someone close to me who said, I didn't get it. It was this, that, and I like said, it was, if you remember, she ripped it too and gave it to her, and that was how she knew it was from her sister, and it
Right,
was
right.
meant for her to find it. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't know why I didn't get that. So
Light
yeah,
bulb.
yeah, Bing, right. Just like us earlier when Josh made that comment, we were both like, oh yeah.
Exactly.
um, so um, uh, so from there, we move on, and the I won't say the best, but one of the most entertaining fight scenes happens. When they meet back up, and I love the fact she's like, "I knew you were out there," and
Yeah.
right? He goes, "Oh, look here, there's my redhead.
Aw,
Love you
there
too,
she
baby.
is.
Uh, you know, you knew it was
I love
me.
that she's in the chat and that she joins. She's so supportive. It's
She
really
really is."
cute.
And
I
the
love
fact that she
that.
does, and the fact that she's not a movie fan in general, just makes it even that much more special to me. So
No,
yeah,
you
yeah.
guys are cute.
I'm lucky. I will say, and I'm not bragging, but I am the luckiest man in the world.
No,
I
you
really.
should say that.
It's true. It's
If
true.
you're proud of her, yeah, you should. You should
Oh,
totally give her that shout out.
sometime when we have a chance to talk offline, I'll tell you the whole story about how she saved my life.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I
Uh,
definitely want to hear that.
so anyway, um, so the fight between the two of them break out, and I love the fact that their skill sets and moves are so equally matched.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you're wondering who it is that's going to who's going to come out on top, and it basically was a tie, right? It was
Yeah,
basically
essentially. Definitely.
essentially they're both choking each other out, and they're like, okay, it's time to go. We gotta let
Yeah, we gotta
go.
tap out. We gotta tap out.
Yeah, right. The old wrestling move. It's time to tap out. Um, but this is where we really meet Yolana for the first time.
Hmm.
And as I said earlier, I fell in love with her character.
Me too.
It was funny. Stefan and I were talking, and Stefan was like, "Oh my god, I cannot wait to see more with her in it." And I'm with him. I'm with him wholeheartedly. I think it was great. And if I'm not mistaken, was it Yolana who came up with the idea to go free their dad
Ooh,
from the prison?
I'm
I think
trying to remember now.
so. They go through
I
the big.
want to say it might have been more Natasha's idea. I could have
Someone
sworn that she wasn't too thrilled with.
they weren't thrilled about it at
I
all.
mean, neither one of them was really thrilled about it, but I could have sworn it
So
was actually Natasha's idea.
so before they
I may
make
have
that,
to spend that $30.
yeah, we had the big chase scene, right? All the
Yes.
Black Widows come in.
Hmm.
This is another one where I was instantaneously pulled from the movie because I was like, you got to be kidding me. When she fell,
Oh, yeah.
metal,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like,
metal.
I remember that, and my first thought was, she would be dead.
Yeah,
Her back,
yeah.
like,
Not
her
even a
spine.
broken leg or a
Oh
sprained
no, her
ankle or
spine would be
nothing.
snapped in half. Are you
That's
kidding me?
that I could have. I literally had to force myself to go because then they got on the motorcycle, so it's the obligatory motorcycle chase, and I was like,
Yeah, of course. There's always got to be a motorcycle chase.
right, because it's a spy movie, right? This is
Yeah, of course. There's
basically.
always going to have your cliches. I
Yeah,
get
it's a
it.
James Bond movie, so there had
Hmm.
to be a motorcycle
Essentially.
jumping off the hood of a car somewhere, and we knew that was
Right.
coming. But that whole scene, even though those two things were to me were kind of like, really, you didn't have to go there. It was
Hmm.
still fun. I mean, it was still had you on your seat because
Uh huh.
when Elena grabbed the steering wheel, pulled it, and the
Yes.
car goes skidding, and she
Mhm.
throws the door open, and
That
just
was
nonchalant.
great.
It was great, and nonchalantly, "You're welcome."
She was so fun. And let me tell you something. I got to give a major, major shout out to Marvel and their writers and everybody because they do comedy so well and they really know how to pick their moments perfectly to just have that little comedic moment. And I
And
really got to give it to them because look, I do like action. I do like a certain level of drama. But at the same point, we all know it's a comic book movie. We shouldn't really take it that seriously. So I love these little instances of comedy. It's great. Hey, Sith Care Bear. Hi, Josh.
hey,
Josh number
Josh,
two. Josh
Josh
number
number
two.
2. So good to see you, Josh. Thank you so much for coming in. We appreciate it. And I agree with you, Frank. It's not forced like the DC. I
DC
agree.
needs to get their act together. I don't know what their problem is, but listen, you need to pick a side and stay on there. Either you need to go dark, which in my opinion, that's what DC should be, is dark. I mean, Marvel's
We
always
could
been
do
the
a
lighter
whole.
side.
We could do
But
a
yeah,
whole
don't even get me
hour's
started because we'll go on a
episode
whole other
DC.
tangent. Yeah, no,
Yeah, we could
DC, I don't
spend
know
a
what the
whole
hell their
hour.
problem is.
As a matter of fact, let's plan on that. Let's maybe talk to
Sure.
a couple of Joshes and a couple of Joshes and a Frank about doing a what the hell's wrong? What the
Thing
hell's
one and
wrong
thing
with
two.
DC? Right? Josh says he's pretty sure it was Natasha, so I'll take it back.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Because because I remember her saying, "I know who can tell us where the red room is."
Right.
Okay, yeah, you're right, Josh. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
sir.
Josh. Yeah, you got to refresh my memory here.
So the breakout scene. I loved it. It was so.
The whole arm wrestling.
Uh-huh.
I swear, I love David Harbour so much.
So the guy he was arm wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm trying to remember what character it is. That he was playing a comic book character. Josh, you're gonna know this. Josh Irwin, you're a comic book geek. You're gonna know this. He was a mutant.
Ooh, interesting.
Who turned into a bear. He was a big Russian bear, right? And I can't remember his name. And he had many more scenes filmed that didn't make it to the movie. But he was like on social media bragging, "Oh, I've got all these scenes that I filmed. It's going to be a lot bigger than I thought." He was really, hyped up for it. Of course, he gets the one. Let's see here. Marvel maintains a fantastic balance of humor, drama, and action. And yes, Frank, I love you. He was Ursa Major.
Okay.
That was who he was supposed to be. So we may have already been introduced to a mutant and not even know it.
Interesting. I'm sure he'll pop up in the future.
I hope so. Anyway, so I'm not going to cry about this. I'm a guy with tattoos. I don't know if you've seen them.
I have 3.
I've got the one, the quarter sleeve. I've got my Star Wars tattoo. I've got a couple other ones. That tattoo on his back looked awful neat for a guy who was arm wrestling. But again, it's a movie, so I was like, okay, I'll let that go.
And you really paid attention to some really specific details.
Well, that's the kind of thing because I'm okay. So I've been thinking about adding to my tattoo. I know how I want to add to it, so I've been formulating in my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, if I was sitting there letting my tattoo artist do that while I was trying to arm wrestle with the other arm, it would look like a big squiggly line somewhere.
It would look like someone had a stroke while they were doing it.
It would look like a 3-year-old trying to color on me with a crayon. I mean, I
think I may have had the same thought. Like, really, I don't think this would be possible. But okay.
Josh says he's down for the whole DC talk.
Josh
good. I know he would be. Maybe the artist was just that good. I need to find this artist.
Yeah, seriously.
We all need to find this artist. I'll tell you what, I want you to do this tattoo. We're going to do this, 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 and this, and it's going to be a lifetime portrait, but I'm going to do it while I'm running a marathon. Can you
right, exactly.
Josh Irwin says we should do a Marvel versus DC thing. You know
Absolutely.
what? You're right. We probably should.
Totally down for that.
Yeah, and maybe I can. I know some people who are DC supporters out there. Maybe I can get them on that, and we can all just gang up on them. Anyway, I love
a real bone to pick with Snyder is my problem.
Let's leave it.
All right. Well,
like I said, that's an hour.
Move along.
That's an hour.
Move along.
So Sith Care Bear says ditto. He's down also. Yeah. Yep. All right. So we're all good. All right. Where were? Oh, okay. So the breakout.
Oh, the prison
The prison
breakout.
break. The most over the top. I can't believe this is happening. If my wife was watching it, she'd be looking at me going, "Really, Alan? Really?" But what made that that scene perfect for me was the comedy of Yelena and Scarlett talking back, and Natasha's talking back to each other. Because while the helicopter's getting riddled by bullets and she's flying the helicopter, she's still talking to her like big sister, little sister.
It's great. I love it.
They
have very good chemistry. They bounced off of each other so well.
You know, she's like, really? She's like, I'm doing the best I can. I was cracking up. And when she pulled the rocket launcher, right? And she's going that the look on her face and all of her little, you know, just little kid comments that she was making made it absolutely positively one of the just absolutely. She stole the show. I said this earlier. She stole the show.
She totally stole the movie, and I was okay with that.
And I was completely okay with that. You know, David Harbour's character was great. You know, in the next scene when they finally find the mom, right? They make it to the mom, and I love that. And also, we're gonna run out of gas.
Yes.
Oh no, you can make it. Which is what should have happened with the Cessna earlier in the movie, but that's a different story.
Oh goodness.
Care Bear, Sith Care Bear.
Oh
says,
yeah,
I love you.
I had that. I loved that. That was so funny, especially when she ended up doing it herself.
and it was like, yuck. It was so good. Oh my god. You know, and here's what I was getting ready to say to your point earlier, and I'm gonna back up just a hair. When you talked about you know, they've got the perfect balance of drama, action, and comedy. I think the comedy is so that people like my wife, who doesn't care for superhero movies, can still watch this and enjoy it.
I can agree with that, because there still has to be some level of entertainment factor to it.
It's more for the normies.
Yeah, than it is for the nerds.
And us nerds appreciate it because we love it too. So it gives, you know, it gives everybody a little something.
And I'm big on comedy to begin with. I mean, comedy for me will always be my favorite genre anyway. So I also like it, especially as someone who admits that they're not super well versed on this stuff. So it does help.
It's funny. My kids and I talked, and you know, they always bounce questions off me because up to a certain point, I was the comic book guy.
Right.
Well, now where Marvel's going is outside of my knowledge of comic books, right? So it's like,
all right. So I don't feel so bad now.
Yeah. So, but that's okay.
My parents, for instance, don't know dick about this stuff. They don't watch it for the post-credit scenes. They don't watch it for how they're all tied to each other. They watch it because they think they're thoroughly entertaining. My parents have watched a lot of these Marvel movies, and they love them. Absolutely love them.
Yep, I agree. They're fantastic. So they finally break him out. Now, how strong is he that he could just kick that metal door the way he did? And it just,
you know what? I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give it to him. David Harbour's huge. I'm going to give it to him. That one I can believe.
Oh, Red 5
Hi,
Network.
Red 5. I'm so glad everyone uses my nickname. Maybe I should change it when I come into the studio and change it from Chantal to Shanti, because I prefer it so much more.
If you would prefer Shanti, you never told me. I've always called you
Chantal.
Chantal.
It's just no one knows how to pronounce it, let alone spell it. And it's my whole life. It's caused a identity complex. So yes, Shanti is totally fine. I prefer it, honestly.
I will try my best. If you ever called me by my first name, I wouldn't answer. So
and it's actually a family nickname, and so you guys are all my family now. So go ahead, call me Shanti. Yeah.
Nice. You know, I'm looking at the people that are in the chat tonight. You know, we don't have a large group here, but the people that are here are fantastic supporters. You know, and we've got Red 5 Network checking in with us tonight. Guys, I can't say thank you enough. I appreciate you very much for coming
seriously
to my little itty bitty channel and sticking your head in and saying hi. It means a lot to me, and we
will help you grow.
we hope so. Someday I hope I'm good enough to actually be considered part of the Red 5 Network. That's all I can say. So anyway, gosh, I get to
It's
kissing a
okay.
little.
Prison breakout.
I get to kiss a little butt. And I forgot where I was at.
Prison break.
So
David Harbour kicking the door open.
yeah. Well, before we we talked about him saying, "Oh, there's plenty of gas," and it runs out. Before we do that, there were a couple of scenes in this movie that were heartbreaking. So at the beginning, if you would have told me a Marvel movie would have went into child abduction,
yeah,
I would have said you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
In this one, the way Florence Pugh played the whole "we can't have children" was fantastic because of the way she handled the material.
Right.
But man, it was heart wrenching. I was just like, oh my God. I knew because they've alluded to it in the past, right? And
right, of course, with Natasha.
But the way she described it, and then when she felt that Harbor was uncomfortable, and she just started plucking those little strings of his.
Yep.
I was like, I said, how do you make something so horrendous so funny? And I had to give that to Florence Pugh because I don't think if it was handled any differently, it could have actually.
And I had the same thought, and believe it or not, it's true. I don't know how they were able to make that funny, especially as myself being a woman. I would say between myself and the rest of the auditorium that I was watching the movie with in the theater, that I would say got the biggest laugh in the entire movie. I was dying during that.
How much of that was uncomfortable laughter?
No, not at all. No,
Okay,
not
good.
for me. Not for me. I don't.
Josh,
it takes a lot to make me uncomfortable. It takes a lot to offend me, honestly. And because I am such a fan of comedy, so for me, I was like, this is so hysterical. If anything, I was wondering what all the men were thinking in the theater.
I'm going to be honest with you. I was laughing the whole time, but
how many of the men were like, "Can I laugh at?"
Yeah.
Is that okay?
In my heart, though, it was one of those weird things like I felt my heart breaking, but I was laughing at the same time. It was really a weird emotion at that point for me. Josh, the Sith Care Bear.
Yeah. Oh, they did. They got graphic.
I picture the rainbow Care Bear with glowing red, yellow eyes. I can't believe they got so graphic, and it was hilarious and shocking. It really was. It really was.
I was dying.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. Awesome discussions, beautiful souls as guests. Can't go wrong. I appreciate that. Thank you. So they come up to the mom and the pigs. What'd you think of the pigs?
I'm an animal person, so my first thought was they're so cute. I did not appreciate her cutting off that one pig to show what she was doing, and then it couldn't breathe or whatever. And I'm like, you need to let that pig breathe. That part actually that made me more uncomfortable than the pregnancy talk.
It did me as well, because I'm sitting there going, all right, stop it.
Please stop. Please stop.
But the thing that was amazing about that, if you think about it, because she didn't cut off the oxygen. She just told it to stop breathing, and it did.
Correct. Right.
Of its own will, if you want to call it that.
Right. Yeah.
And she's, it's just so cold. It's like, well, get another 11 seconds.
No. Oh,
that's what she said.
I hate that. I did not enjoy that at all.
Poor guy just fell out. He sure did. But I think it was an important scene to show the amount of control that they've developed. But for me personally, anytime there's anything where animals are involved, and you can ask Josh Irwin this, like I said, he's known me for a long time. I get real antsy real quick.
Me too.
Real antsy real quick.
All I kept thinking is, I hope you're not about to show us this pig dying, because I will lose my mind.
Yeah, no doubt. And it was hard, because for me, pigs are they're cool, but they're not like, it's not like a dog. If it would have been a dog in that scene, I probably would have turned the movie off at that point.
Had it been a dog, I probably actually would have physically been in tears.
Yeah.
Honestly, like
Uh,
that
be-
definitely would have made me cry.
so chat, just so you all are aware of this, and my wife is painfully aware. I like dogs better than I like most people.
Yeah, same here.
You know what you get.
Yep.
If they like you, they love you, and if they don't like you, they tell you to stay away.
Mm-hmm.
I love them. Anyway,
I love
all
them.
right. So moving on. Um, so this is the point where you think that everything's all kind of starting to touch base again, and you
Mm-hmm.
get your heartfelt moments between David and Florence, and which was a
Oh,
great
I
which was a
loved that
great
scene, and when they
scene.
started singing American Pie.
Bye bye, Miss
And I
American
love that
Pie.
song. So yeah, that was such a sweet moment. And that was one thing that I love, that whole running gag of David Harbour just trying to make a heartfelt
But
connection
and
or
he
a
kept
speech, and he just couldn't get it done.
he, he could.
He's so
And
funny.
so did Captain America ever mention me? Okay. Here's another thing we have to go on. The Russian accents in this movie were horrible,
You
but it was
know, I always
but it was okay because
find,
it played it.
look, I always have to take that with a grain of salt, because I don't think I've ever found any actor to get a Russian accent correct. It always borders on Boris and Natasha from Rocky and Bullwinkle. And that's all I can think about is Rocky and Bullwinkle. So
Well,
it
here's
is
the
what it is. It's a very difficult accent, in my opinion, to perfect. I
I
didn't think
was
Florence's was too bad.
no, they none of them were really bad. I mean, it was just every once in a
David's
while.
was a little more
Yeah, yeah.
comical, but he's a goofball. So
He is a goofball. So when I lived out in Wyoming, one of the things I would do was periodically I would need to go down to town to the airport to pick people up and shuttle them back up to the resort. And there were some Russian drivers in town. And I swear to you, every time you'd sit there and listen to them talk, I just grin because it sounds like they're yelling and cussing at each other all day, even though they're not. It's just
I know
so
it's just
funny.
a rough language too.
Zori,
Sorry.
come on. Where are you at? Hold on a minute, Zori. I'm going to get you on here. I've got too much stuff going. There she is.
That's my girl.
Hi, Zori. It's good seeing you. Thank you so much for coming. We
So
appreciate
excited.
you
All these
very
people in the
much.
chat.
I know. It makes me happy when there's people in chat. It really
Me
does.
too.
So I was really thinking that, I just ate a brain food. You were on their chat, in the chat room last night, on their chat the night before last. Star Wars lore, can't remember her name to save my life.
Oh, the one that you were in the chat last night? Rachel.
Rachel.
Reaper girl. Yeah.
Reaper girl. I thought she was coming on. She told me she was going to try to come on tonight, but
Rebel Rose. She's dealing with an issue with her windshield, so that could be the reason why.
Okay.
She's waiting for somebody to repair it.
No problem. No problem. So just so everyone knows, Zori stepped in and everybody says hello. So anyway, they again, the mom kind of lets them know a little too late that yeah, they're on their way. I've already called it in. They know you're here. The red room, the remaining Black Widows are going to come take you out. Right? Go ahead.
Can I make a
absolutely make a comment?
Zori might be able to get this, but every time they said red room, because I've read the books, I just could not help but think about 50 Shades of Grey.
You got to stop that shit right the fuck now. Excuse my language.
I wish they would have picked another phrase or something, because unfortunately every time they said the word, it took me like right out of the movie. I couldn't help but think about it. It was so funny to me. I have nothing to
That's funny. Zori has nothing to offer because she hasn't seen it yet.
Well, thanks for your support anyway, Zori.
Yeah, thank you for coming to our. Oh, by the way, Zori, we gave you the chance earlier.
Spoilers.
To let you know that there's spoilers involved. If you were here, you would have seen that we paused long enough for you to go watch the movie and come back. Just so you know.
Zori knows what I'm talking about, by the way. We'll move on.
All right, so let me tell you my quick story on 50 Shades. Are you ready?
Oh boy.
I'm like, okay, I get the book. I download it to my Kindle. I'm thinking, okay, this will be fun. Me and my wife will read it together, blah, blah, blah. I literally said to her after about 15 minutes of reading, I said, if she says the line, I looked into my lap or I looked down at my hands as I blushed, one more flipping time. I was editing the words on it as I was reading it because it was so badly written. And she looked at me and goes, I can't take this anymore. I said, me either.
It is
We
one
stopped.
of the most poorly, if not the most poorly written book, I think, or set of books, because all three of them are garbage, especially the last one. The last one's the worst. They are definitely like the most poorly written books I have ever read, next to Twilight. And I don't know why I tortured myself with Twilight, because I'm purely a Harry Potter fan.
So we're going to wait a minute, hold a minute. Are you ready?
Yes,
Check
sorry.
this comment out. Absolutely, she is. Yes. And here's the funny thing. Blondes and me, I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm a redhead guy. I like her.
No,
I
she's
like
beautiful.
her
I
a
love her.
lot.
Yeah.
So now we find out that the red room is actually floating in a cloud in the atmosphere.
Yes. Did you have a problem with that?
Here's my thing.
Gryffindor.
You've got Shield.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me Shield doesn't know that this thing's floating up there? Their explanation for why it wasn't detected, it was because it was in a cloud. This was the one time the writing on this what made me go, "You're out."
That's just lazy writing.
Yeah. Well, they're all sitting. I can see it now. They're all sitting around the table. Hey, so all right, so we're gonna put it in the cloud, right? That's how they move it, right? Okay. So how do we tell that Shield can't detect that?
They use the invisibility cloak from Harry Potter.
No. Well, we've got that whole Doctor Strange thing. Nope, not can't. No. It's in a cloud.
Nobody looked up.
Nobody looked up. Zori, I love you.
Cloud City, that's what I thought too.
Yes.
That's what I thought too. And Josh, yes, 50 Shades of Grey was fan fiction based off of Twilight.
Oh my God.
Yes. I know.
Please don't. Okay,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
We could spend another episode, and we can schedule this one too if you want to, on how much I hated Twilight.
Yeah.
Vampires do not
glow,
sparkle.
And I'm a vampire person, always have been.
my favorite role that
that
Sutherland ever
pissed me
played.
The hell off. That pissed me the hell off. And I'm like, I love vampires. How dare you do this to them by making them like sparkly diamonds? I did not enjoy that.
They're already so sexual in design. You don't need to do all that.
No, give me a break. That's the whole point. They've always been attractive, and that's all you needed to do.
It goes back to even the old stories of the whole vampire mythos is built around sex.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
sneak into your room, I mesmerize you, and I pierce you with my sharpness.
Exactly. That's why I like Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman, because talk about being like a sexed up movie. But yes, Zori, yes.
Oh,
yes.
you just
don't get me started on the werewolves either. Oh my God! Please, Robert Pattinson, do Batman justice, because unfortunately, I do think he's a good actor, but I will always, that will be my first thought, is that you played Edward Cullen. So I hope he can do more roles to kind of break away with that. And Interview with the Vampire is one of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, and if you're like werewolves, Dog Soldiers.
I've never been into the werewolf thing. The only werewolf movie I have ever liked is the original with what is it?
Lon Chaney Jr.
Lon Chaney Jr. Yes, that's the only one that I like. That has and
American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the two.
I'm going to suggest two for you. One is The Howling.
I've seen The Howling.
You can't tell me you didn't like The Howling.
I saw The Howling maybe when I was 14.
Oh, that's one of my
That's okay.
favorites. Oh, the ending was so heart wrenching.
Yeah. I guess I'm just
And
because I'm more a vampire person.
Dog Soldiers.
Dog
Not
soldiers.
to break anything away, but Dog Soldiers
I
is
like to write stuff down.
it's an elite team of military
Okay.
who, so now as werewolves they hunt in that same militaristic fashion.
Okay.
So there's a lot more involved with it. And yes, Silver Bullet was fantastic, Josh. Any
Oh
movie
my
that you
God. I have
have
like a
one
mountain of
have
movies to watch.
that you have one of the Coreys and you have um, Gary Busey in it together. All right, so
all right, we're getting off track.
so we get you get me on vampires and werewolves, and we can be here all night. Werewolves are my favorite monster, if you will.
Okay.
And I'm with you, Zori. American Werewolf is great.
Yeah.
So now they're in the Red Room, because they landed up instead of down.
Correct.
And you've got Natasha going into her cell. Okay, so here's one of the things that didn't make a lot of sense to me. Okay, I love the whole ScarJo wearing the mask and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But why did she just tell her this is how you get out of the room?
Too easy.
The reason I say that is because then they could have done the sneak attack thing, right? Which is what a spy movie. So here is my biggest beef with this. My biggest beef. The whole pheromone thing.
You had an issue with that?
Yeah.
In what sense?
Okay.
I actually thought that was pretty interesting, believe it or not. I was wondering why she was paralyzed and couldn't smack the shit out of him, but
I will agree with you.
I thought that was an interesting way to go.
I will agree with you, but let's talk about basic science as it's considered.
You can't bring science into this.
Why couldn't she have walked across the damn room at 50 yards away and put a bullet in his brain?
Again, because that makes it too easy, and movies are all about conflict. If there's no conflict, then there's no movie.
My point on this is that while it was a really cool idea, the way they handled it was poor. They could have said, once you are in my presence, my pheromones affects you, and it makes it impossible for you to do this ever or over, whatever, for whatever. But the fact that they just made it, you can't put tissues up there, which is true, whatever.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it when she was taking the hits in the face. She's going, "You got to hit me harder than that, right?"
Yeah.
I thought you could do harder than that. Oh yeah, but and then 30 seconds later,
he was great, by the way.
Oh, he was.
He was what a bastard, and I loved every minute of it.
So convincing,
ruthless,
so
very convincing.
Didn't care about anyone or anything but himself. Didn't even care about his own daughter.
No, completely cold and heartless. It was a wonderful villain.
So Zori, if you don't want to hear this, put your fingers in your ear. Big surprise, big shock moment that Taskmaster is his daughter, who we thought was dead.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at all?
Yes and no, I guess. I guess once you saw it was her, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that was kind of like, especially because she kept coming up. So I was that's why I was kind of like, all right, she must still be alive and we're going to get her moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But here's the thing that kills me is the actress who played her is beautiful. Beautiful, like model. She's a model. Yeah. She was a model. She's beautiful. So the makeup design and everything, I think they did a great job with.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But you've got this little itty bitty head on that big body. they could have done something. You know what I'm saying? To make it a little more
I guess
by.
maybe they really did want to give you that shock moment at the end. So I guess they figured by making the suit look more padded to make it look more masculine. So that way you had no idea that there was actually a female donning the
Hmm.
costume. And I have a
Yeah.
feeling that's why they did it, because they probably weren't expecting people like us that are most likely going to pick up on it and make that. Because again, like you said, we're nerds and I get it. We're very, I would say we're probably very selfish when it comes to these movies. And we'd like to think that
Sometimes.
they're,
Yeah.
and we like to think that they're only made for us, but that's not true. Cause at the end of the day, it's Hollywood. It's a business. They got to make their money. They have to appeal to everybody. So I think if you're somebody who isn't like us and isn't so invested and isn't, looking at it like under a microscope, I can understand why the suit looked the way it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
So
made it look more
so
masculine.
so we're at the hour mark. I think everyone's fairly aware of where we're at this point, but I do want to take a couple of minutes and let's talk about what the
Really? It's
chat's
been an
talking
hour?
about right now.
Wow.
It has been. It flies when we're having fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
If I don't get all your comments on the screen, please don't be upset with me, but we are going to talk about it because I think that this is a really good place to be. Let's start with Red 5. He says, what do you guys think about the changes from the comics, which is what we're actually talking about at this moment. Sith Care Bear came back from that and said, I love the fact that it was kind of a Mission Impossible meets Bond meets Bourne, which we talked about very early on, and that's
Yes.
great. But here's where we get into the meat of it. Zori brings up a great point. Remember when we first came on, I said, hey, there's a little bit of controversy behind this movie, and this is where a lot of that controversy comes in. People
Who cares?
Okay, well, here's the thing. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Please don't shoot the messenger.
No.
Okay. There has been a large part of the Marvel community ever since Endgame, when we had the very forced "we are women, we are strong" scene, right? All the women lined up together in their poses right before, how are we going to get the gauntlet, right? Who've been calling it the Marvel Universe instead of the MCU. They're starting to call it the MCU because they're forcing women into positions that they don't normally roles. I shouldn't say positions, roles that they don't normally go in. Gender swapping, which I don't care one way or the other, whatever. If you write it well and the story is told well, I could care less if they're they got 12 arms, 3 eyes, 2 heads, and their boobs are on their back. I don't
What's
care.
this obsession with gender? I don't understand.
Well, again, remember we talked earlier about a few episodes back, you and I, about how people's nerves are getting close to the skin because of how much crap's going on. So it's every little thing starting to tick people. So once this was known, and that the people were getting irritated about it, this is kind of where they went in it's the woke thing, whatever, blah 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 blah. Myself personally, I don't care because they handled it very, very well. And Red 5 says, well, why didn't they make it his son? Because let's face it, a child dying is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
A female child dying is atrocious. And the fact that she had to make the point to take collateral damage, that's why there's so much red on her ledger.
Right.
And she had to make amends for that, which
is why I said, I think in the context of this movie, I think it worked. And I understood why she was a female. Not only that, I think people need to relax. This is only the first time we're seeing this character. And now that we saw how it ended and with all of the Black Widow being freed, who's to say that the next person who might take on Taskmaster, because you don't know if someone else might want to give that to another person, then at that point, maybe it might be a guy. But again, who cares?
I agree. And so here we go. Josh, Sith Care Bear says, the girl power moment in Infinity War is much better. It's about making the moment organic and not forced. Here's my only problem with that. In that particular scene, I felt like tried to shoehorn it in versus it being organic. Because the gauntlet at that point in time,
Mm-hmm.
again, we're going way off tracks here, could have been delivered 1,000 different ways. You know, how are we going to do this? Captain
Right.
Marvel can do it by herself. She doesn't need the rest of you.
Right.
And it would have been just as strong if she had done that by herself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's just me. You know,
I guess I don't
and
know. I was so upset with
it.
Captain Marvel, so I hated her
Yeah, we're
entire
not even going to go
character.
there. We're not even
Yeah.
going to go there.
So.
But in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
I think they did it right.
Right.
I think it was great, and I think, and this
I
goes
don't
out to
know.
all
I'm
of you.
biased because I'm a woman. So for me, when that happened in Endgame or Infinity Wars, because I can't even
Mhm.
remember anymore. For me, I was like, "Yay, this is great!" And
Don't
if people are all no, I'm not saying towards you. I'm saying to everyone else who seems to have a freaking problem with women being in certain types of roles. My thing is again, like I really want to break that stigma that this stuff is only meant for guys and boys. And
I
how are you
agree.
going to do that if you don't put women in these movies? And I get it. Okay, fine. Was it maybe a little bit too much to have all the women coming out at the same time? Maybe, but for me, when I saw it in the theater, I was like, "Hell yeah!" But again, I'm coming from the standpoint of a woman, so for me, I was like, "Yes, representation. Women can be just as badass as men." And they're here to help, they're here to fight for the same cause that all the male superheroes are here
I
for,
agree.
so who gives a
Okay.
shit?
Okay.
I'm
So,
sorry, I'm
so
getting angry.
no, you're good. So we're going to stop right there, and I'm going to say this: I'm done being devil's advocate. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree
I'm
with Zori.
sorry.
That's okay.
Everyone needs to relax.
Here it is. You ready? And Zori just nailed it.
Yeah, I agree with
Just
Lori
care
too.
about good writing. If Taskmaster is a sinister character in comics, then as long as the character is still sinister in the movie, and who cares? The gender doesn't matter. And I agree. And I will
Listen, they
tell
were
you this.
already bitching about the costume before the movie even came out, so I think people already went into the movie already kind of
Well,
down on the whole Taskmaster thing.
I understand why they did, because
Yeah.
the Taskmaster's original costume is a lot
Right,
different.
right, and I
But
saw
let's
it, so I understand. Yeah, but
yeah, but
again,
let's face it. You can't do comic realistic.
no, that's what I don't understand, and I hate how people sometimes think that they can do things better than the writers, or they can do things better than the costume designers and stuff like that. If you think you can do it better, then you know what? Go get into that industry and leave us the hell
And do
alone.
it. And do it.
And I
Um,
understand everyone has their right to their own opinion, but I do think it is a very unrealistic expectation to hope for these costumes to look identical to the comic books. And I
no,
know I said this on the Deadpool. His is probably one of the rare instances
where it
where
works.
his was dead on because Ryan Reynolds truly fought for that costume to look just like the comic books.
I will say this: Spider-Man,
Oh my god, you know how many variations there have been?
but still, the costume is in general. Spider-Man and as you said, Deadpool, they
Hmm.
work beautifully.
Yeah.
The if they would have brought Wanda out in her original costume,
Hmm.
it would have looked ridiculous.
Of course,
But
because
I'm
these
going to
comic
say
books are
this,
cartoonish.
Zori, are you ready for this? Wanda may be my absolute favorite character in Marvel right now. I am so intrigued with where she goes. I love her.
After watching WandaVision, yeah,
Yeah,
she flew to the top for me.
yeah, because I think she has the most ability to spring forward. So I don't, for those, because I know Zori hasn't seen it and the rest of us have. I don't really want to go into the actual final. But I do want to say that I think there was a little bit of a cheap ending as far as how she stopped Taskmaster. I thought that was kind of cheap. That was just me. I loved everything in this movie
Because it
up
really
to that
wasn't
point.
about Taskmaster. You know what I mean? Like, that character wasn't really the main villain. So for me,
You go, baby. Wait, do you see? Do you see what Sis said?
yes,
I
yes.
love it. Watched
So
the movie in the theaters and Disney Plus, and bought the Taskmaster toys. So you like Taskmaster? I take it.
clearly he
That's
was on
awesome
board.
with me. Oh, I was completely on board. I thought it was great.
But yeah,
Um,
but to say like what you were saying, yes, I can agree it was probably a little cheap, but at the end of the day, I just don't feel like that movie was focusing on that character. It was focusing on Ray Winstone's character.
it was actually, in my opinion, it was actually focusing on Scarlet Witch, or not Scarlet Witch. I'm sorry, Black Widow. I had
Yeah,
Scarlet Witch in my
it's
head.
okay.
So
Zori says you could spoil it. It's fine. She doesn't care.
So Zori and Josh, please don't be mad at me. I loved this movie. I will never watch it again.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. And I think this is why, even though it's doubled, more than doubled its cost to make,
Mm-hmm.
but this is why its numbers are starting to drop so quickly. There is no investment in this movie. You know when Natasha dies, you know how she dies, you know what
Yeah,
she
I can.
there's
And
no
which
investment
is
in it.
which is why I say I wish. And again, this unfortunately, I hate to bring this up, but that's why this does kind of harken back to what I'm saying about people having an issue with more female centric movies. There's a reason why we didn't get a standalone earlier. And yes, things have changed, in my opinion. And I think that's why she ended up getting a standalone movie later rather than earlier, which I think is stupid because I think she's been a very well liked character throughout this whole last 10 years.
Well, you know, the
And I
leaked
don't
email.
know why she didn't get one earlier.
Well, I'll tell you why. Do you remember the leaked email from the old Marvel head lead?
Vaguely.
He said,
Vaguely.
women
Yeah, yes.
cannot carry a
Mhm.
superhero movie. Excuse me. I
You
would
won't
like
know
for
that
him
unless
to
you
no
pump it out.
sit down and talk to Gal Gadot, and you tell me that
Give me a
Wonder
break.
Woman was phenomenal,
I loved the first Wonder Woman movie.
phenomenal. You know, as much as we don't care about Captain Marvel, and I think Brie Larson actually is the one who I don't care for her as an actress in general.
She has no personality in my
She
point,
doesn't.
and now like at all. I think the only movie that I even enjoyed her in, and still she wasn't
You're
anything
in
to write home
trouble,
about.
Josh. You know he's yanking your chain. You know that, right? Just
Yeah.
smile and go. I know you're yanking my chain.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Um.
I'm
Wow,
not a
that
big.
comment made me lose my
Okay,
train of
are you
thought.
ready? I'm not a big Natalie Portman fan.
You know, it's so funny that you bring that up because I posted something earlier today about V for Vendetta because I was making eggy in a basket because I learned how to make that because of the movie V for Vendetta. And I actually got into a conversation, I can't remember with who, I think it was with another Star Wars podcast where they said that they loved Natalie Portman in that movie.
Yeah.
And I did like Natalie Portman in V for Vendetta, but I did say she is one of those actresses that she is only as good as her director. As to where some actors, it really doesn't matter. So I like her, but I can honestly say there are only 3 movies that I've ever liked her in, and that is V for Vendetta,
Yeah.
Black Swan, which I absolutely love Black Swan.
Well, I can see that. Okay, go ahead.
And I don't know how many times I've seen that movie already. And of course, which is like one of my favorite movies, Leon the Professional. And that's only because she was so young in that movie and that was such a heavy subject matter and she did it beautifully. But other than that, to tell you the truth, I actually really don't think she's that great of an actress, especially if you're talking about the Star Wars prequel. She's horrendous in those movies. Horrendous.
That's the reason why I've written her off, okay? Because it is well documented. You can get online and look it up that she was fighting with Lucas over something.
Yeah.
And she mailed in her performance for the second one, which is why she's only in little itty bits of the third one.
Yeah.
Lucas said, "Screw you. I don't need you. I can keep this from going just the way it is."
I don't even like her in the Thor movies very much.
Well, I think what happened with her on that is she was told she was going to be working with a particular director, and they pulled the director and didn't tell her before she signed the contract.
Gotcha.
So that was kind of a weird thing. And Josh was referring to the email, like, yes, Josh, you're correct, and I knew that was it, and then you were yanking the chain.
Yes, Zori. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So all right. So as we know, and again, I loved it. I think it's great. I just I'm not going to dish out any more money for it because it doesn't mean anything as far as Natasha is concerned. Although it does mean a lot as far as Yolanda is concerned. So, what did you think about the after credit scene?
Which is why I said from the very beginning that I did read that Feige said that really at the end of the day, the movie really was supposed to be more about Yelena than Natasha.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, we know what happens to Black Widow. This doesn't do anything for her character. It doesn't move her character forward in any way because we know what happens. I'm so proud of my theater. You could tell that that was definitely a theater. Yeah, she better. I could tell that that theater that I was in was definitely filled with true Marvel fans because I would venture a guess. Hello? I would say that 98% of my theater actually like did not move an inch the moment the movie ended. And I was like, I'm so proud of you guys. And everyone was just sitting there watching. And I got to tell you, you could tell that how far we've come in technology because these credits are just getting longer and longer and longer. It's amazing how many people it takes to make these movies.
That's a good call, Josh. You're right. And the thing that I love about it is now is people, even in non-Marvel movies, are starting to sit around to see if there's anything coming.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
So they kind of started that whole trend now. And
well, no. Ferris
who
Bueller
did
started
it?
that trend.
Oh, true. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm so sorry. It was really nice to see everyone stick around. And when it got to that scene, of course, it was a lovely scene in the beginning because, you know, she's, you know, paying her respects to Natasha. You see the grave. It definitely got me teary-eyed because that, you know, Natasha's death was awful to me. I just loved her character so much. It had to happen. I get it. But when Julia Louis-Dreyfus came out into the scene, let me tell you something. Everybody in my theater, we all reacted at the exact same time. And it was, it was, and again, because it had been so long since going to the movies, it was such a wonderful experience just being back in the theater again. And I saw it in the Dolby Digital Theater. So
nice.
That was really, so talk about being loud. It was great. I loved it. The seats were vibrating. That's why I liked it. So I didn't mind all the action and it being completely relentless. But that was like such a moment. And of course, I was like, well, this is definitely leading into the Hawkeye series. So as much as I wasn't, because I never really been a big fan of Hawkeye. I like Jeremy Renner. I'm just not a big fan of the Hawkeye character. But once that happened, I was like, okay, now I'm on board for the Hawkeye series.
And his daughter actually is a pivotal part of the Young Avengers.
Yes, yeah. So I'm looking forward to all of that.
And Josh Irwin, you actually just stole my thunder. I was getting ready to talk about that. In
yes,
case you didn't
I did
know,
read that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be her first appearance.
Yep. So this is a personal thing. It's nothing against anyone who happens to watch the video, but I'm not really into the weird. And when I say weird, I just mean non-natural hair colors.
Oh,
right.
Like
when people dye their hair, the pinks and blues and
purple
whatever
streak that she has going on
looks great on her. How did that happen?
It.
I know. I told my wife, I said, I'm not into that at all, but man, that looks good on her.
And I've been thinking more and more about, because I've always been, this is actually pretty much my natural hair color, but since high school, I have dyed my hair every single color under the sun. I definitely have done more blonde. I've done blue and green. I've done burgundy. I've done all sorts of, I've gone black. I've gone red. I've gone all sorts of colors. And it's funny. I was actually thinking about that because I went to Starbucks today and the worker had fully purple hair. And I was like, man, I would love to do that to my tips. Just purple. So I might do that.
So here's the question though. When you see it and it's done right, right, people do it the correct way. It's great. When you see it and you can tell that they've just dipped their hair in Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
it's a different thing. All right, so anyway, we're gonna get off here. Listen, it's already we're an hour and 20 minutes and still running. and we could talk. Well, you and I both were talkers, so we could talk for hours. So,
And oddly enough, no, I'm not actually a talker. It's just if I feel very comfortable with certain people, then you can't get me to shut up. But for the most part, believe it or not, I'm actually quite stoic and observant. So be very lucky that I'm comfortable with you. If not, this would be super silent.
Josh says that the purple tips, he think that would be cute.
Aw, thanks, Josh.
Aw, you're such a sweetie, Josh. We like you. All right. Anyway, Chantal, thank you so much for coming on tonight. You have absolutely been so much fun, and I really appreciate you being here.
No problem.
Chat, again, hats off to you. You guys have been fantastic as always. This particular group, when they come in here, you know, they always add to it, and it's always so much more fun when we have people to talk with, and that's just great. So again, I appreciate it very much. Sorry. Oh, Josh.
I love you, Zori. By the way, Zori, I tried to find the Loki ears at my Disney store, and they didn't have them.
Oh, Sith Care Bear blew me a kiss. God love you, blow you.
Oh, so Alan gets the kiss, and I don't.
Yeah,
I see how it is.
You know, because I'm you know,
You're so
I can't help it. I'm a little better looking than you are. Anyway, hang on in the room just for a minute, Chantal.
Sure.
All right, family and friends, we really appreciate you coming tonight. I'm sorry we ran a little bit long. We were really trying to keep it in an hour. Zori, Josh 1, Josh 2. Everybody who came out tonight, Red 5 Network. Maureen, I know you're out there, and also if there's anyone I missed, please forgive me. I just want to take a minute to say thank you for coming again. We really appreciate you very much. As we do when we sign off, we like to say you've always got friends here at Press Play. Remember to take the time to grab a drink, grab your favorite snack, sit back, and remember always to press play. Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a great night, everybody.